part of the theme of that night was, yes, we're adding roles. Other than probably the 2 SROs, most of all the other roles are, in theory, revenue
generating, directly or indirectly.
Correct.
They're there.
Correct.
Steve Sherlock here for Franklin Matters, Franklin Public Radio, available anywhere, anytime, in the internet, on the internet, in your browser, WFPR.FM, and in the local Franklin, Mass. FM radio dial, 102.9. Yeah, the dial, the knobs, the buttons, whatever it is. Preset it to 102.9, and it's always there ready for you. Here in our glorious studio today with our Town Councilor, Michael LeBlanc. Mike, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing fantastic. It's summer.
It's summer,
yeah.
And you had a short meeting last night.
We did. It's nice to get out in less than 2 hours.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's one of the first times you've done it.
I think that is probably has been the shortest one. I know we had one other one that ended. I say short, under 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
So getting out before 8 o'clock was nice. I think the sun was still up.
At that point.
I think it was.
Yeah.
I didn't know that there was a sun after a meeting. So, it was nice. It was
Indeed.
nice.
Well, this is the first time we've had a chance for you to take this quarterbacking role. So let's just start with, okay, you've been on the council since November. What's your kind of first impressions? I mean, you've been there before, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah, that was. And I've referenced that a couple of times. I mean, I was on literally 20 years ago, 2005 to 2007. And it's different personally for me. I'm 20 years older. I'm 20 years wiser.
Perspective has changed a little bit.
And those 20 years have allowed me to learn how to build relationships. We were talking about that before we went on the air, but because that's ultimately what this is about. There's 8 other people on the council. We have to build. We have to get to know each other beyond just our. I'm not even going to say political, our views, but personally.
Sure.
So that 20 years has allowed me to figure out how to kind of do that. As it relates to now, what are we at? 7 months, 8 months? I can't even tell time anymore. It's going well. I mean, obviously there as you just mentioned, there have been long meetings, but that's a byproduct of really, I'm say 6 or 7. 20 years is a long gap. New people, having to learn.
Yeah.
How the town runs.
By the nature of the process, every single time you've got something new, it needs to be explained.
Correct.
And that's going to take some time. Whether it's 10 minutes, 2 hours,
correct.
It extends the meetings because it's new.
Correct. And in fact, I've even suggested this to Jamie. Do you end up having 2 meetings a month that are 4 and 5 hours, or do you have 3 meetings a month that are 3 hours? Either way, the work has to get done.
Sure.
Because without everyone learning and progressing, it's not gonna move. So I think my takeaway is I certainly have patience because there's things that I remember. But as I said last night, there have been decisions made a council or two ago that I don't know what they are, and I'd like to still learn them. I mentioned, you had mentioned last night you did the Beaver Street Interceptor tour.
Yep.
But I want to know more about that project from a timeline perspective.
Sure.
I mean, I drive down 140 every day, and I go, when is this thing going to end? I mean, when's the road not going to get closed on Beaver Street? So I got to come around Grove Street to get to get to Beaver Pond. So
soon.
Yeah, soon. What soon? Sometimes soon in government terms is 10 years.
Initially it was going to be kind of 3, and then it's really kind of shortened to about 2, from what I understand.
Okay,
and, July. They said it's going to happen in July, so we're almost there.
I hope so. But that's a great example of even I try and say as plugged in as possible. Don't know everything, and I need that information given to me.
And you're not the only one, because people are coming in here all the time, and they're saying, well, wait a minute, what is this? And they have no idea that, oh, by the way, the pipe was put in 1914.
Right.
It's 100+ years old and needs to get replaced.
Right.
And they're like inches away from completing it, but you can't really tell until, if you've really looked at kind of the work, they're starting to put the curbs back in. So they must be getting
right.
must be getting close to
I
finishing.
hope that means that. I hope curb going in means it's coming to an end. I mean, the great thing is while I live on I don't even know what side of town you can say it. While I live on the Prospect Street, close to Bellingham.
Yeah.
It's funny. Most of that work is done at night.
Yes.
But I'm not driving down there at night, so I don't necessarily see it.
Sure.
So it doesn't necessarily impact my drive.
That was the biggest change, because when they were coming, they were notifying, there's going to be a lane reduction during the day. Then MassDOT stepped in and said, "Oh no, you can't." They had control over 140.
Right,
you got to do that at night.
Right.
So it's really minimized.
It has minimized, but I would like it to be done. So
of course,
go from there. So, but to that point, we're all learning new things. So not too bad. And as I also mentioned last night, it's kind of ironic. We did a lot of housekeeping around committees and folks in the town that have stepped up to join those committees, and I highlighted that many of them are 3-year terms, and their terms are longer than the term that I have.
And the key piece there, for the listeners' benefit, in case you are not aware, many of the only 2 boards, to my knowledge, that are the entire replacement are school committee and town council.
Correct.
Every other board has staggered terms, so you get 3s. Sometimes you get 2 or 1, depending upon who's filling in for a term when somebody didn't complete the term, which, life happens, things happen, et cetera. But, yeah, and that's the other point to the listeners as well. The last, and I think it's in the neighborhood of between 225 and 250 volunteer roles across the boards, committees, commissions, etc., that, like you, are all non-paid, like me, non-paid.
Let's stress that. We're non-paid.
Non-paid. The check's never in the mail. There's nothing there. We're not expecting a 2.5% increase. It'd be nice, but 2.5 on 0 is still 0.
Correct.
But in your role and the school's roles, you're managing the oversight of the operations on the town side, school side more directly with the school department, but clearly you have that key funding role. You give them the $1 and then they go take the rest of it. But and all the others, whether it's design review or planning board, board of health, board of assessors, they're helping in specific arenas of the town operations. So
and while we approved, I can't remember, it seemed like maybe 36 folks. There are still in July. It was mentioned last night. There are still about another 24 openings that are out that are going to become available in July. So if there's anyone listening to this, please go to the town website, franklinma.gov, and apply. I mean, we are looking for people to step up. Some don't meet as often as we do as the council. Like I said, maybe we should meet more often. But participating is a great way to get involved. If you're new, I was thinking about this last night to say, if you're new, it's a great way to meet people in town too. It's a great primer. You've been living here for a year, less than a year, and you're still looking to find some people to meet. It's a great way to get involved and become more part of the community and stuff.
And the variety of roles, I mean, you've got opportunity across the board.
Correct.
You can be in arts and culture, you can be in finance, you can be in building and construction, whatever. There's a variety of roles that should be able to fit kind of either your interest or passion or sidebar, whatever you want. And my count was, I think it was 20 positions across 8 boards or committees.
I think that's about right.
Things may change a little bit, one or two, but that's what the council are. As part of the council agenda that came out, that was the total. And I know the town's going to be doing some additional promos in July, but you can go to the town page. There's a way to query to say what's the open positions. And then clearly you can either go, and I don't think Jamie was as explicit last night, but for the benefit of the others, you can go to the annual report, which is a PDF off the town clerk's page or a tab, or even the budget doc, the budget narrative, with one exception, I found it, has a description of the board and or committee or the department that you're oversight for. So annual report or the narrative. The one exception in the narrative, they skipped design review. Okay.
Guess you paid more attention to than I did.
They may not have had, and I went back through, and they don't actually have a budget line.
Correct, they do not, right.
And thereby there's no narrative.
That may be.
It's embedded in with the planning and community development piece,
correct.
Which makes sense.
Yep.
But, when you're looking through, it's just like, wait a minute, where was design review?
Well, we will not forget them.
No.
They're important.
Because coincidentally, that's one of the boards that needs people, because a good chunk of those that were supposed to be coming over have decided for whatever reasons to step back.
Yep. So that was a byproduct of our meeting last night. So again, step up and be heard.
Yeah.
So
we'll kind of work backwards from finishing last night.
Yeah.
But you also had one of the occasional fun things with witnessing the swearing in of the replacements.
We did.
Now, these were not new hires yet.
We did.
I mean, yes, they are new to the town, but they're not new hires in terms of new to the budget, to be clear on that point.
That is certainly a highlight of being on the council, is getting to meet those new members that join those public safety, first responders areas. And I cannot commend them enough, those three individuals, for coming to Franklin. One of them was a Franklin, Caleb being in Franklin, coming home, hearing his story, and that he was working in, I think, Nantucket. I'm like, you left Nantucket to come back to Franklin. That's great.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have three new members. I look forward to being able to welcome other members for the positions that were added and as part of the budget. So that's a great add to the community. Those are going to be three outstanding people.
Yeah,
looking
the
forward.
qualifications and experiences that they come in with. That's
correct.
That's a benefit to us for a couple of reasons. One, they hit the ground running.
Correct.
But two, they're bringing experience from elsewhere in similar roles, particularly in the response program.
Correct. Now counseling. Yeah.
And that's priceless.
Yeah.
We're in kind of the happy problem, and I think Chief alluded to a little bit, to the extent we were one of the first ones. We've been losing people because people are coming and grabbing them. And so Sonia left, and now she's the manager of her group.
Correct.
Kudos to her for spending some time here, and now she's moving up, and that's good. And yeah.
But yeah, that was another great part of the meeting. Unfortunately, we don't do those every
time, but they happen periodically.
Correct. And the best part is the Chiefs both come in dressed nice and spiffy.
All dressed well.
Yeah, dressed well. That's the rest of them. Lots of support from the rest of the crew there. It was a great.
Yeah.
Great
when as many police and fire paramedics are in the room, you wonder, just like, let no alarm go somewhere.
Or if something happens medically, I'm pretty much covered in this building right now. So I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
The safest spot is the municipal building in that case.
Very much. And I think the other thing that we did last night was just some budget cleanup. Move some money around in department budgets. That's usually last meeting before the end of the year.
Right.
Small stuff. And then obviously because of snow and ice, we spent well over the budget, the budgeted amount. Right. And thankfully, you could argue that whenever we've had some extra dollars, we've been able to kind of stow them away.
Right.
And we had a stabilization fund out there to be able to absorb it, so it wasn't using free cash or robbing Peter to pay Paul some other way.
No. Right.
So while some people, and we'll talk about that when it comes to the budget, yes, sometimes stashing money away is a good thing.
Yes.
But putting those acorns in a nest is good for things like this. So it was good that we had it. I think the most, and it was mentioned after we left, it was kind of ironic. We talked about being new. Those two things I thought would have had a lot of questions. We waived the reading.
No questions whatsoever.
We just, and I think that may have been probably because Jamie set it up very well in the meeting, the prior meeting, where he said there's some house keeping things, and we kind of knew about the snow for a while now.
That was not going to be a surprise.
Correct. That wasn't going to be a surprise. Moving the money around at the end of the year, I think people grasp it really quick, and they go, yeah, it's like any other budget. I get to the end of my personal budget, I got to take a little out of entertainment and put it into food. And that's literally what we did last time. We moved
it was
300 some
less than
1%
total?
Yeah,
it was a fraction of a percent, I think.
Correct. And that's and that's how you have to put this stuff in perspective. We're $170 million I use the word company, but that's the amount of money.
Service organization.
Correct.
Because that's effectively what we are. We're just delivering services.
Correct. So when you look at 300,000 compared to 170, you have to put everything in perspective, and that's ultimately, as we transition to talk about the budget, that's how I try to put everything is in perspective of. Yes, if you look at adding a police officer to the police department, but when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, it's really, really small, and that's where I think that's where we're all learning. You have to kind of put this stuff in perspective. Right. Is it really worth arguing about or discussing? I shouldn't say arguing. Discussing 25,000 when it's comparing it to $170 million of a service organization.
And then as you get into more of this, and we can reemphasize, I'll take the opportunity to reemphasize the point where the snow and ice budget, call it $1.2 million, it's about that. And it took a while to build up to that point, because for a while it was always in that 500, 700K.
Yeah, correct.
Right? And then they would always have to use free cash to finish the balance.
Correct.
So the capital process, even back in the day when it was just total free cash, which it still is, but you would always lop off something for holding for snow and ice, and then that was going to be the second phase. Once snow and ice finished, you would find out what was left to do the rest.
Correct.
Once it built up gradually to be almost that $1.5 million in the budget, then, to their credit, they at least said, okay, if we're not going to spend it all, put it into the stabilization fund.
Correct.
And thereby, when we need it, and we have from time to time, but this one just kind of like wiped it.
Correct.
Now it's going to be a challenge, clearly, that they get the next 1, 2, whatever it is. Hopefully next season we only use 6, 7, 8,
and we can start stashing it.
Start putting some away again.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, and it is changed. Even I can compare it to what it was 20 years ago. 20 years ago, when you budgeted what was in snow and ice, you wanted to actually under budget because of the way the law was written.
Correct.
You wanted to if you had a low number, you wanted to keep a low number. And they've changed the law around that, so that allowed the change in between the transition from Jeff to Jamie. That's where it started to build up, and it's a good way to do it because I mean, we've had warmer winters.
This is New England. There's variations.
Correct. And we've been lucky for the 2 or 3 years prior to that, and you end up with winters. The crazy thing is, to me, I hearken back to 8 years ago when we had that really big winter.
Yeah,
if I ever think about what it would have cost,
with the blizzard every other week,
what it would have cost. I mean, what it would have cost now to clear that, and we only had really a couple of big ones, but the rest of it was just little. All those little things
nuisance,
add up.
Ice, correct. Snow mix.
And it's amazing that it can run up a $2 million bill in Franklin to clear the roads.
Right.
But ultimately, they do a great job and take care of us. So it's been great.
Yeah, so I think that covers.
I think that's the high points.
Functionally last night.
Yeah, I think that.
But then your big session was the 10th.
It was.
And that was the culmination of a longer process, clearly, from a couple of updates from Jamie, but Jamie and the departments worked through the department budgets. They spun off the capital budget. FinCom went through their hearings. Town Council did 2 budget hearings, and then even after some adjustments because of the healthcare piece, which we'll get into specifically, more than likely, and then the final adjustments coming out of FinCom, you got a revised budget to finally look at, and FinCom approved with some minor changes, and you went through a long, structured process, but ultimately the vote passed 6-3, and it doesn't have to be 9-0 to have a good discussion.
It does not, and I think that is I think the highlight of the evening to me, and I thank Councilor Griffith for suggesting kind of the approach, which was let's, rather than vote what Jamie had presented, let's go back to what a level funded budget is, and let's look at each of the kind of adds for the year, and then Councilor Morangello came out and said, let's do a roll call vote for each of them. I read your thing there. I lost count. Yeah. You said 40. You kind of get lost in all of it. But
well, and I did not include all the wave readings.
Correct.
Right. So that's where it was like 44, 45.
Correct. But all of those were quite. But it wasn't. But I applaud the approach, which was, well, let's tear it back, and everyone can speak their mind on whether it was the SROs for the police, whether it was I'm trying to think of all, but everyone got to voice their kind of thoughts about it.
Sure.
And yeah, there were times it was 8-1, and sometimes 6-3, and one was 5-4.
5-4 on the SROs
correct.
in particular.
So,
right. Yep.
But everyone got to give their kind of opinion.
And even the 6-3 votes, sometimes the threes changed.
They changed, right? It was, and I did look at your tally sheet that you did, and I was trying to see if there was a pattern. There was really no particular pattern.
Yeah.
But
if
it was
anything, I think the only exceptions were you and Steve on the CPA funding were
Correct.
the only two negatives.
Correct.
Whereas all the prior negatives at least were consistent between Jane and Caroline.
Yeah.
And then the third one
Yeah.
changed from time to time, and then a couple more joined in on the SROs. But,
Yeah.
that kind of, so,
Yeah. So it was good. I mean, and it certainly was, it was great that when we started the process, we were going to be using about $2 million of free cash.
Right.
And that through the efforts of our state legislatures, Senator Roush and Rep. Roy, that we were able to, and the rest of the state legislature, we were able to get, ultimately, between them and others, the revenue number changed by about $700,000. We were able, with predominantly with the insurance, the health insurance,
Healthcare
get
stuff.
another
Yep.
couple $200,000-$300,000 in savings. Basically, between those two things, $700,000 in revenue, $300,000 less in expenses, that reduced our need to about $1.1 million worth of free cash. So while no one likes to use free cash, I understand it's never a known number. But if there's some history there, and there is with Franklin, of having free cash, I do think personally that as I said in the hearings, and I picked up on what Councilor Cormier-Ledger said, we needed to try something a little bit different.
Sure.
And I think we did that this year. We didn't ask for the big old word. We didn't cut stuff. I was reading the little one-page slip that the school committee put together and was on my in front of me when I sat down last night in the upper right-hand corner. Said this is the first year in a long time we haven't had to reduce any staff or anything like that. So, and certainly I would have loved to have added more staff, add more teachers, so that you always hear we get rid of the arts, those things. I would have loved to have been able to return those kind of things, but it's a slow progress. There's one thing I have realized: Rome wasn't built in a day, and we're not going to fix this. We're not going to fix this overnight. And even I, who wanted by the time December to have that strategic plan we talked about, it's going to take time
certainly
to do that.
It will.
And I think that's going to be critical going forward, is to have that plan. But we definitely started out. I think we have a very good starting point for FY27, and we can then use that as a starting point for FY28 and eventually and I would say a strategic plan. It's really a budget that takes it, as been mentioned by that subcommittee and even by myself. It's more than just the operating budget. It's the capital budget, the short-term things. It's the big things. It's the schools. All that stuff has to be
even
laid
the
out.
councilors, whether Cormier-Ledger or others, are adamant about trying to have the capital items truly, if they're like the police vest, et cetera, they're standard. Chromebooks, they're standard. They should be in a capital line in the operating budget.
Correct.
We're not financially yet in that position. They were there at one point in time. And then because of other budget pressures, we've got this free cash we're using. Let's just, use that. So it kind of made sense to the extent that the cash is there. it's not neither free nor cash, but it does accumulate accounting wise.
Right.
And it allows us to do that capital funding. But yes, it should be. There should be a capital line in our overall operating budget.
Correct. And we'll get there. But
yeah, it'll take a while, but we will ultimately, I believe, we will get there.
Correct. We were, as you said, we were doing it that way a while ago, and then we made a shift. Now it's going to take. It took 20 years to get to the point where we are. I'm not going to tell you it's going to take 20 years to get back to it. I hope it doesn't. But that's the key piece. I mean, and what that plan will show, and it's. I think that will be the playbook that we can give to the rest of the citizens in the town. And I also think that the other piece is, and I've been very adamant about this, is we need to find a way to generate more revenue. That's what we need to do.
Yeah.
And that's a sticky wicket.
Oh yeah.
Because there's the biggest way you can generate revenue for a government is through, especially in Franklin, is through development.
Right.
We've all heard how some developments go,
yep.
But there's a way to do what I'll use the phrase smart development,
smart growth,
and and we have to look at that, and because if we don't grow revenue,
we're in deep doo-doo.
Yeah, I mean we are. I mean let's be honest. If
there's
you
no
only can raise taxes 2.5%, which from a taxpayer standpoint, that's great. I know I can only get in theory 2.5%. But when you have inflation at 4%. And some of those pressures are even beyond just health insurance. We know is more than 4. It's closer to 14,
10 to 14, 17%.
Correct. It's
like,
up there.
hey.
So, and that's a big chunk. I mean, when you have a service-related product that relies on people, and 80% of your budget is people, that means there's a large health insurance bill out there, and if that grows at 10, 15%. There's a gap there.
Right.
So all those factors have to be relayed in. But I think if we start painting a picture, we've got 2 years to do it. And I think at the end of the 2 years we'll paint a picture and we'll see where we are. And as chair of the Economic Development Committee, I'm going to I vowed with the rest of my members on that committee to find a way to stimulate that development so that we can have more than our traditional $800,000 a year of new growth. I've said it multiple times. Somehow, if we do not want to have a big override vote, or to not have an override vote as large as dollar amount as it was, we're going to have to find a way to basically develop $350 to $400 million of property values beyond what we normally do in a year.
Right.
So that's the challenge.
Yeah.
And I think we can work with landowners in town, residents in town, to find that smart growth that will be beneficial for the town. And if we can't, then we got to look at other options.
At least you'll have told the story.
Correct.
Showed this is what we tried to do. This is where we're at.
Correct. And I think that there's lots of opportunity out there. We've talked about downtown before. We now have the Union Street, the crossing corridor. We have that. So there are places where we can do that smart development and. We call ourselves a town, but
you're legally a city,
we're a
and
city.
You're big enough to be a city. We're one of the top 40s. So,
correct.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to act like you really are. We are a city. So,
and to your credit, at least, and FinCom and everybody else as well, you took small steps to that in terms of 2 of the ads, the indoor restores, depending upon how you count it or term it. One was in the inspections department to alleviate time so the inspectors can do what they should do instead of paperwork. Yeah. And the assessors can do what they need to do.
Correct.
Go assessing as opposed to doing paperwork.
Correct.
So
correct.
Both of those should pay for themselves, plus, which, we don't know exactly what that number is going to be, but it makes sense it's going to be plus.
Correct. Yeah, and actually it's one of the things we're going to take up in the Economic Development Committee is that whole process, because is the loop being closed? Is it being closed fast enough? So someone pulls a building permit at I'll give you a perfect example. I'm building a little outhouse or bathroom on my property right now. I pulled the permits for the for the water, for the plumbing, for the electric, yada, yada, yada. And as soon as that's done, they should be coming out to assess my property and slapping $20,000 on for my...
Or whatever the
magic number I shouldn't say that out loud. Maybe it's 5. Who knows? But
it may not be 20.
Who knows? But the point being is all that stuff has to work together, because if that happens, if I build something and I'm not being properly, that's a lost opportunity for the town. Yes, for the individual taxpayer, they're not paying that, but I think everyone understands that if I improve my property, there's value to it, and you have to pay a little bit more for it. But adding those resources, adding the assistant deputy town administrator, that's been a bone of contention to the prior council. We've picked it up. Hopefully we've addressed it in approving the position. I think that position is needed. There's again, size of the organization, $170 million, having one person. It's also I would personally, when we bring on that individual, it's also there's got to be a line of succession here, because Jamie is not going to be here. Hopefully, this individual, just like Jamie did when Jeff was here, he got to groom himself, and he was next person up. So. I'm hoping there's 2 benefits of adding that role, which is helping us with whether it's that individual or freeing time up from Jamie so he can spend it. But that role hopefully will create 20 hours of a week of economic development.
And depending upon whatever the specialties that individual has, whether it's in marketing or development or community relations, I mean, any of those are stuff that can still help. And then Jamie can go the other way, right? Instead of having to do it all himself.
Correct. And it'll also be nice to walk up to the town administrator's office and
not see it
empty. That was one of the starkest changes, because I had after I was off the council, maybe a couple of years afterwards, I would go visit Jeff Nutting, and I hadn't been up there probably in 15 years. And when I walked up there the first time, and there was no one in the office, and Jamie was sitting in his office. It's quiet. And I'm not saying you hire people to fill a desk.
No.
They got to do a role, but it's a stark difference than what it was 15 years ago, and probably even 5 years ago. But I think we've corrected that as well. Again, part of the theme of that night was, yes, we're adding roles. Other than probably the 2 SROs, most of all the other roles are, in theory, revenue
generating, directly or indirectly.
Correct.
They're there.
Correct. Yeah. So I think that there will be a benefit. They will pay for themselves. And that's the good thing. So, but we're done. At least for now. We get through the summer. We'll see how we are when we get to middle of the fall. We'll get a check-in on how we're doing. But overall, the best part about it, like I said in the beginning, was the process, the approach we took. Like you said, it wasn't a 9-0 vote.
No.
There were different opinions that changed slightly, but and I think all sides of were heard, and I think the town is in a good place right now.
Yep.
At least budget-wise. We'll fix it. We'll make sure the Beaver Street Interceptor gets done so I can get my sidewalk on 140, and then we'll be in a better place.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, and the 2 other key decisions you did that night as well, budget-related, but one was the second pass, so-called, on the capital budget. So because you only used the 1.1 in free cash, you had a little bit more in the pot to divvy out. But then Jamie took a chunk of that to put it aside for the healthcare piece.
Yes, he did.
Right. So we can expand on that a little bit, because this is one of your places. But for the benefit of the others, we were in a self-funded healthcare support arena, town-funded through employee premiums, et cetera. The last couple of years, and from my reporting, and maybe even go back, you may remember too, but they did generally look every couple of years to the GIC and see if the rates could be any better. And generally they weren't. We were able to self-fund and do it better on our own. The last 3-4 years, we unfortunately were in kind of the lost lead position. So the companies weren't giving us good rates, and in some cases didn't even want to look at us because we'd cost them so much. So GIC made a better option for us. Clearly, we're now in a bigger risk pool. That makes a whole lot of difference.
Yes, it does.
And I think there were two wrinkles there that we can spend time on. One, as part of that shift over, clearly people between now and June 30th are still going to their normal plan, doctors, et cetera, and there's going to be some bills that are going to fall over. Some will come quickly, some will come later. Exactly what that is, we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So they pulled some money out of the free cash to hold aside to pay those.
Correct.
Then the second piece was, and it was a surprise to a number of folks, because I do recall it having been in the corporate world where there was one time where, due to some savings, they had to give us kind of the free premium month, so you didn't pay a premium for a month. Right. It was like, really? Okay. All right. But then the month goes by and you forget about it. So coincidentally, it's $400K?
Yeah, about $450,000 was that.
In January, the employees' benefits, et cetera, won't pay that premium for January. But the plus is that now reduces the deficit we're in the hole for starting out next
Correct.
year from 1.1 to about 0.7.
Correct.
That's not bad. I'll take that.
No, you're right. So I mean, those were two things that we probably didn't when we were asking the questions. The latter one about that savings, but you're absolutely right. It's kind of built in now.
Yeah.
Next year, we got a $450,000 savings in there.
It's easy.
The surprise, and Councilor Malloy brought it up, I brought it up, was the $1 million. I don't necessarily remember hearing that we got this run out.
I'll agree with you. There was mention that we didn't know what the leftover premiums would be, but there was no dollar associated with that.
So again, I'm glad we were able to save $1 million. I'm actually hoping that we don't spend that $1 million.
I would hope so too. Yes.
And to your point, it is really all those folks that have going probably for the last couple of months, May and June, and those bills are coming in July and August from the health insurance. Hopefully, it was even mentioned at the meeting that many folks may say, well, let me put that off until July because my copay is less. Yeah. So instead of me having to pay $100, I now pay $50. Because, I mean, $100 or $50, everyone's trying to save a nickel here and there.
Absolutely.
So that hopefully that happens. And so instead of having that be under this plan, I'm hoping that $1 million is really not $1 million, and in fact, it's really, we set aside $1 million from free cash, and there was, again, there was another $250 from some other fund that's been out there for many, many years.
We apparently were part of GIC at one point.
Yes, right,
and then switched, so that two something was still sitting, earning interest.
It's like anything. Things change. We had free cash to pay for capital. Now we do it in this. Now we're going to move it back. It's all over the place. But the combination, I'm hoping that $1 million too, we don't have to use it.
Right.
And we can take it back in and be able to use it something else. But for now, it's set aside, and we'll let the bills come in, and we'll take care of it from that regard. Yeah. So it was, again, a little bit of a surprise. Thankfully, we have it, because if we didn't have it, we would have been having to figure it out we would have figured it out. But but again, surprise, but I think we took a very decent approach. I mean, we did end up shaving about $75,000 from that original kind of capital request, because we did, going back to the budget, put $75,000 back into the budget for facilities, and we did ask for that to be earmarked. That was another win for the night for the auditorium, predominantly for the middle school, because that had become something that bubbled up over the last couple of months. Yeah. Personally, I was ashamed that we even got to that point. That whether it came through yours or the Franklin Observer bringing that to light, and the fact that I found that to be embarrassing. We ever even got to that thing. So while we're able, between what the citizens have done with raising money, what we were able to do with that 75, what Becca Ross was able to do for the 60, that gets us going for it. But of that $1 million, we took $75,000 to take care of that one little thing, which again, to be a community benefit for those folks. And if we come up $75,000 short with the health, we'll figure that out in the grand scheme of things. So
and then from an accounting perspective, at least having allocated kind of the 1-2, if we don't need to use it all, that is fully available at that point in time to be used for some other one-time use.
Correct.
And we've got a long list of those. So
Correct.
it's just a matter of where the priorities are at the moment.
Correct.
Maybe it goes back to the auditorium. Who knows what else is
Correct.
around. So,
Correct.
Yeah.
Time will tell.
Yes.
So,
stay tuned. There's
yep.
more coming.
There is. There is. So, what else did we do in that meeting? Budget. Yeah, that was. I think that was the highlights of it.
And then the only minor other piece, respectfully, was the fees change.
Yep.
And then the proposal, which is still coming up for second read, on the stormwater parking. It's not
Yes.
stormwater, excuse me, the
Parking.
winter storm parking
Correct.
ban.
Correct.
Would have a healthier fee to make sure people, park the cars where they should,
Correct.
not disturb kind of the plowing operation.
Correct. Yeah, and it came in. I proposed an amendment to raise it a little bit. I mean, because no matter what, even the fine that we're assessing doesn't even cover the cost.
No.
To have someone from DPW go out there the next day,
A second pass. Yeah.
to do that. I mean, trust me, it costs more than $100 to put someone in a truck, have them drive around that circle or clear that street
Right.
to do that.
Yeah.
It really does. So it's as any fine is meant to be a deterrent, not to be a punishment. And hopefully, I was surprised when they threw out the amount of tickets that they gave out. I didn't think we actually gave out that many tickets, but
30 to 40.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised.
That's a little bit high, I would have thought. But, given some of them, and I don't know, they didn't get into the details. Some of them could be Dean students, too.
Could be.
But, we don't know, so I won't speculate.
Well, Dean's got a lot of parking. They got a couple of big parking lots. So, so we made an amendment for that. That'll come back as well. And I think that's the highlights. We, again, productive meeting. Budget's now wrapped up.
Right.
And now we get I'm not going to say our summer hiatus, but
Yeah.
need a little less frequent. But we got other things. The subcommittee still got a lot of things to get done.
Subcommittee meetings. You still have some other, I think Jamie mentioned, like some street acceptances.
Yep.
That would be, I think, the first time you'll get those this time
Yeah,
around.
I'm sure that'll be a lot of questions around that.
The process,
Yeah.
how to do that, et cetera. I didn't hear a lot of line cleanups, which is another thing that happens from time to time, so you won't have that for a bit. Other license things, apparently there's some other liquor licenses coming up. Just clearly, and I think that was the other piece, respectively, there was a couple of corporate changes where directors, et cetera, were changing, et cetera. And so you, at least as the licensing authority, need to approve those, but they're not a material change as far as the operation, the tip certification, all that other stuff is standard.
It's the old rubber stamping, government rubber stamping of things. It really doesn't. And in fact, if you watch the meetings, those are the ones. I feel bad for the folks that come. They think they're going to get asked a lot of questions, and typically we just rubber stamp it. And it's moved very fast.
The new ones, clearly, then it's new. They haven't been around before.
Correct.
The standard questions: are you tip certified? Do you have this covered? Do you have that covered? Which are all valid questions.
Yeah, they are. I think Councilor Cormier Ledger tackles those questions with you.
So that may be the clerk's role, because I know Jones used to do that too when he was there. So.
Correct. We turn that over to Councilor Cormier Ledger to ask those questions.
Right.
But we haven't had those yet. But hopefully we do get to have some of those soon. Again, as part of development. And a restaurant actually produces meal tax for the town.
Right.
Those are ways to.
And that's one of, in your economic development role, it's one of the key pieces. That's an undersold benefit that we have. Any restaurant, eating establishment that comes in, we don't have a cap on alcohol licenses.
Correct.
There are a cap on liquor store licenses. Those are set by census, and we haven't really had any change. We made an exception for one, and that was about it. But any restaurant, that's we don't market that enough.
Correct. That's a perfect example. We got to get out there, put a slick. Come to Franklin, you can open a restaurant and get a liquor. You can get liquor.
If you want to go to Boston, you got to buy somebody else's license.
Correct.
That's $1 million plus.
Correct.
Here, nothing.
Correct.
You can come and get it.
And there's lots of storefronts to be able to do that. So that's a perfect. There you go. That's a great segue to why we need someone to focus on doing that. I mean, I'd love to be able to do that. I got a full-time job. I think we said at the beginning, I think I get paid $0 to do this.
Yeah. Well, that's about the same what I get,
right,
too. Right,
exactly.
yeah,
so, I mean, I enjoy putting the effort in. Regardless of the fact I get paid $0 to do it, I do it because I enjoy doing it.
Absolutely.
I'm doing it hopefully for the benefit of everyone else in town. That's how I try and look at things. But we do need people who work for the town that's part of their focus is how do we take that storefront and put a restaurant in there or put something that will raise the value of that property so that the property value goes up, yada, yada, yada. It's all a ripple effect. So,
correct.
But we'll see where we go.
Yes, indeed. Well, thank you for taking time to recap not just one, but 2 quarterback sessions on 2 council meetings.
I've always wanted to be a quarterback. So.
Well, you had an opportunity.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, they get paid a lot of money, I hear.
They do. So, some do.
I hear Drake May's going to make a lot of money soon.
Even in retirement, this other guy, Brady, he's still rolling.
Oh, yeah, he is. Peyton Manning, he makes a lot of money in retirement.
Sure.
Yeah, I like this quarterback stuff. Yes. So I'll come back and quarterback again for you.
We'll be able to increase your bonus the next time. 20% on 0 is still 0, unfortunately.
It is.
Yes.
Wow. So I appreciate being here, and I appreciate the time with you, and I appreciate everybody in town. So.
Yes. Well, thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
For this specifically, but for doing what you do sitting in the council. We need people like you to do that for us because, there's 35,000 of us, and Correct. It's a service organization. So we need some oversight. We need some guidance, and you're always looking for feedback.
I am.
Yeah. You were doing, well, I think of it, kind of office hours.
Yeah,
and
so we're gonna do that probably. I'll I think in the next meeting in July, I'll pick a Saturday and I'll just pick a restaurant in town to sit at for a couple of hours, and people certainly can come have a cup of coffee, eat a little nosh with me, whatever, and we can chat.
Okay.
And it's been mentioned multiple times, we need to get out in the community and talk to folks. Sometimes citizen comments can be not the great. I want to get away from that and just have conversations.
Yeah.
So, I hope to do that a few times a year. Do it at breakfast on a weekend when hopefully people have a little bit more time. I know we had our office hours at the senior center. That's not even convenient for some of the council members because they work during the day.
Right.
Some of us have a little bit more flexibility that we can be there, but so we need to any way that we can communicate, talk with residents, and find out what their concerns are. It benefits everybody.
Yeah, and then spread the accurate and true information,
Correct.
Which is what we're in the business of doing as well.
Correct.
So,
and also hearing, we said this before we got on the air. It's when you really sit down with folks and have a conversation. It's the best thing to do.
Absolutely.
It takes there are no sides. You find out there are no sides, and we all agree a pancake tastes really good, and let's put some syrup on that.
Absolutely.
So that's the best thing.
I totally agree. Monthly I go to the senior center and do a Q&A session. I'll give them an update as to what happened in the last month, and then just listen to their questions, because that helps me feedback-wise in terms of what they're doing, and if I've missed something following the socials, and generally, respectfully, they're not always in the socials.
Correct.
I need to know what they're doing, and it all affects our operation, our life here. So, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, have me back sometime.
Absolutely. We will do that.
You got it.
We don't have to have a limitation of one per session. We can have multiple.
Yeah.
We've done that from time to time. And I just did school committee with 2 people. So, and then I also had a session with Lucas and Colin to talk about kind of the end of the year for the schools. And I'll grab some time on Jamie's to get his end of year view. And
Perfect.
Yes, it's all good. I love this.
All right.
I have a lot of fun doing it. And of course, I've said it before, we do this because Franklin matters. We are now producing this in collaboration with Franklin TV and Franklin Public Radio. This podcast is my public service effort for Franklin, but we can't do it alone. We can always use your help. How can you help? If you can use the information that you find here, please tell your friends and neighbors. If you don't like something here, please let me know. Through this feedback loop, we can continue to make improvements. And I thank you for listening. For additional information, please visit franklinmatters.org. If you have questions or comments, you can reach me directly at suresteve@gmail.com. The music for the intro and exit was provided by Michael Clark and the group East of Shirley. The piece is titled Ernesto Mañana, copyright Michael Clark and Tintype Tunes in 2008, and used with their permission. I hope you enjoy. By the way, you can also subscribe and listen to Franklin Matters Radio on your favorite podcast app. Search in podcasts for Franklin Matters.